Good evening, good evening. So my name is Wanjiro Nguhe. Welcome to the public debate. This is the first one that we're having at Baraza Media Lab. My name is Wanjiro. I work at Baraza Media Lab as a program manager, and I want to introduce you to Fumbua. Fumbua is a collaborative journalism project working to disrupt the flow of mis and disinformation and also looking at information manipulation. So welcome to this debate. This debate is about propaganda, but I will not introduce the debate. I will just welcome you into the debate and into the event. Karibuni sana. For those of you who are new to Baraza, the washrooms are on this side towards the lift. So the ladies are the right of the lift, and then the gents are to the left of the lift. So welcome. It's good to see you. It's good to have you. Thank you for keeping time. I know it's a Friday, traffic, all of that, but you still beat that and you kept time. So we want to honor your time and start immediately at 6. So Karibuni, enjoy the debate, and also you're also welcome to participate and to take part in it. Thank you and welcome.
Let's appreciate Wanjiro even as we now set the stage to have this as like this, can I say, our inaugural debate program that will be hopefully running it here again and again. So our time director on the other side, once you're ready, let us know. Yeah. Maybe even as we wait for the setup, I know most of us at one point in our lives, whether in high school or primary school, you debated. And we just want to bring back those great memories when you had an opportunity to speak in a school assembly or in a classroom or just to share a story. And that's what we are going to do exactly here, of course, with our wonderful team of debaters who I can say have thoroughly prepared to have this debate happen. So in the meantime, as they prepare, I'm just waiting for our director to let us know that the time and everything is working. Then we get going. But I know most of you, in one way or the other, you've interacted with the debating platforms and you know what happens. So we are kindly asking you to join us in this amazing session that we're going to have. It's going to be a debate between two. We have a team of two people proposing the motion, 2 people opposing the motion. But this debate is not about them, it is about all of us. And that's why at some stage, we'll then bring you, the amazing audience, in the debate. So once we are good to go, we will move. But just to take you through the format of the debate that we're using, the format is called the public forum debate format. We are trying to run away from a panel discussion. We are trying to run away from some of the most obvious formats that most of us know, like the Kenya parliamentary system, where you have Mr. Speaker, language critic, motion mover, attorney general, CS. You remember those things in primary school? So now we are introducing a totally different one, and we are calling it the public forum debate format. So this format, this is how it is going to run. We have 2 people proposing the motion. They'll be sitting on my right-hand side, and then 2 people opposing this motion who will be sitting on my left-hand side. It is very well structured, and the debaters have been thoroughly briefed again to observe time, and we believe that they are going to observe time. In fact, all this work that is being done here for the screens is for the debaters, just for them to see second scouting. So that when we say your time is up, when the time ticks that it is up, the best thing that we'll do is just to clap for them until they leave the stage, to tell them that come back another time, another day. It is our time now to keep engaging you. So the first speaker of this debate will have the first round. So the first proposer of this debate will have 5 minutes as the first speaker. And their role is very clear, just to define the case, set the framing, present primary arguments for their side of the debate. Then we'll have the first opposer doing the same, but now for their side of the debate. So the first 2 speakers, that the first speaker of the proposing team, the first speaker of the opposing team, will have 5 minutes each. After that, we will give them 4 minutes, which they'll share to a crossfire round, to allow them interrogate each other's ideas and opinions. And that will take 4 minutes. It is a time for the first 2 speakers to ask each other questions on the ideas that they're presenting. Then after that, we'll allow the audience another 8 minutes to interact with those first 2 speakers. And when the microphone comes to you, please, it is not your time to debate. It is your time to ask a question, because in the near future, we also need you to come on this stage as a debater. So when you get the microphone, please spend at most 30 seconds, shoot your question, then let the speakers respond to the question. After that, we'll proceed to what we call the rebuttal stage. And at that point, we will welcome the second speaker of the proposing team and the second speaker of the opposing team, 4 minutes each. And again, that also will be on the screens for them to see. So that at that point, the main role of that round is to offer rebuttals and reinforce their side's case. After which we'll move to another round to allow the first 2 speakers to come back on stage to do what we call the refinement round. And again, that's just the first speakers. Clarify if there were any key issues that maybe the audience did not get right, or if there are any key issues that the opponents did not get right. Then we'll, from there, come back to what now we call the crossfire session, to allow the 2 teams now, 2 versus 2, question each other, then do the same also with the audience. But again, remember, that is the most important part. The purpose of this debate is also to let us know if the debaters can actually make us change our mind on the debate that we are about to have. Then we will finish by the second speakers of each side, giving us what we call their final focus, and we call it a day. All right, so because the timer is ready, and everyone is ready, are you ready for the debate? Yes. Are you ready for the debate? Yes. So they're all debating from this point, and I promise you, no one, I believe, if you see any kind of fire, treat it nicely because it's a friendly fire. It is allowed in a debate, because I've seen people even posting on their status, and some were even warning people they don't know that you will know us on that day. And the day is finally here. So the motion of the day clearly states that this House believes that information manipulation sparks civic engagement more than it destroys public trust. May I just run a quick poll. How many believe that information manipulation sparks civic engagement more than it destroys public trust and democracy? How many believe so? Okay, please raise up your hand strongly. Wanjiru, I think you're the one going to help us know. We can just tell randomly. All right. Great. How many here believe that, information manipulation destroys public trust? And how many here believe that information manipulation destroys public trust and democracy more than it sparks civic engagement? Now, the other side of the debate. Okay, I see there's a team that came with their crowd. All right. My next question to you. How many in our midst here are willing to change their mind based on how the debaters will present their arguments? You are willing. You are just interested to listen. All right. Let's appreciate ourselves. Then we have a debate, because if that is how the audience feels about it, then we are good to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, welcome to tonight's debate, or this evening's great debate. Our motion speaks directly to one of the most contested questions of our digital age. This House believes that information manipulation sparks civic engagement more than it destroys public trust and democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where truth competes with distortion, where every citizen is a potential publisher, and where misinformation can mobilize millions just as quickly as it can mislead them. This motion challenges us to interrogate a paradox. Does manipulated information awaken societies, or does it slowly erode the very foundations that hold them together? Tonight, or this great evening, the proposing side will argue that even if it's dangerous, information manipulation ignites public energy, it sharpens vigilance, fuels activism, and pulls citizens into the civic arena with a new urgency. But the opposing side is also here to help us understand that this engagement is shallow, volatile, and ultimately destructive, because when trusts collapse, democracy cannot stand. This is not just a theoretical debate, ladies and gentlemen. It is a conversation about how we interpret media, how we participate in public life, and how we safeguard the truth in an era of competing narratives. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a sharp, provocative, and insightful exchange as we welcome our speakers on stage. And at this point, allow me, or let's put our hands together as we welcome the first proposer on stage to come and take his seat. Paul, he is a university student at the University of Nairobi, a student of law. And Paul will be the first speaker of this debate. Let's appreciate him in a better way as he takes his seat. And on the other side, we have the first speaker of the opposing side, and that is Valerie. Valerie, where are you, please? Let's appreciate Valerie as she comes. Let's keep appreciating Valerie. Let's keep appreciating Valerie. Some of them, they are CVs. You can't even believe. You are even wondering what they've been doing at their ages. All right, then the second speaker of the proposing team is none other than Linda Asena. Linda, tumpigie makofi jameni. Linda, take your seat. All right, great. And the last speaker of this debate, and that is the second speaker of the opposing side, is Ohisa Oiho Oduho Johnny. Let's appreciate John Ohisa Oduho as he takes the stage. I hear someone saying that that's the chief manipulator himself coming and saying, let's appreciate them in a good way now, in a better round. The motion states that this House believes that information manipulation sparks civic engagement more than it destroys public trust. I'll leave the format here with you people, and we can keep on. The timer will be on which screen? This screen? Wonderful. So the first speaker of this great debate, Madam Valerie, Mr. Paul Mohisa, 4 minutes are yours, sir. Welcome. 5 minutes, sorry. 5 minutes, sorry. Is that manipulation I've started? I am so sorry. Please, welcome. Your 5 minutes begin now.
This House believes that information manipulation sparks civic engagement more than it destroys public trust and democracy. The first thing I'm going to do, to be fair to this motion, is set up a few terms that we can both agree on. We posit information manipulation to mean delivering a message counter to what the message actually is. Now, this is important because it doesn't have to be a bad thing. We don't think manipulation doesn't always have to mean that you're manipulating information with an ill-intended goal. Like, I can manipulate the information I give to my neighbor or my friend if I don't want to hurt their feelings. We think there is some benevolence that may drive information manipulation. That's something important to consider. Now, going into status quo and for the sake of public life, who does information manipulation? On our side, we posit it's more likely that it's done by guys like bloggers. In terms of the general public, small-scale bloggers or people that deliver this gossip that you want to hear all the time. What is unlikely to happen is these big media stations manipulating information that's especially harmful to the viewer. For instance, and an intuition I'll use, during the time of Raila Odinga's death, you had to wait for around 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours before they started streaming that he'd actually died. Why? Because they had to verify that the information that they were giving needed to have been right. By then, we'd learned on social media that Raila Odinga had passed on earlier that morning. What that is to say is that you should not get any argument from opposition that says it's bad because big media stations are going to do this, but big media stations with this unchecked power are going to confuse a big part of the public. That's a second thing that we'd like to set up. I think the last thing is to set up the nature of the tech-literate young Kenyan population that we have. They are cognizant of a lot of the paradigm shifts that are happening around technological spaces. This means you're unlikely to give information that's going to dupe a mass population. There is a call-out culture that people can smell nonsense from a mile away and they're able to call it out to the greatest degree. So people are able to decipher what information is good for them or bad for them and that kind of thing. We think then our ultimate argument is a call-out culture is informed through this tech-savvy population because they are constantly there to check on information manipulation. And this call-out culture can only exist when there is manipulated information to check. If there is no manipulated information, then people are going to be docile, and it's just going to be status quo that's docile, and there's no information to push back to these media sources, and you can't encounter, a paradigm of people like giving information that is more accurate or that serves the greater needs of the people to a greater degree. Anyway, expounding on this argument. One, we think you get increased civic engagement, and the mechanism for that is call-out culture, as I've expounded. Now, what makes this mechanism true and real is the fact that you have a very tech-savvy population. People are literate, people are informed. The Kenyan population is by far the most tech-savvy population in Africa. I don't think that's a reach to say that. Even if you don't want to buy that, the East and Central Africa is fairly believable. Even if people can't access this information directly, they'll talk to their friends who are tech-savvy. I'll go and talk to Valerie, who is seated there, and each and every other single person in this room that I've talked to before this debate has started. So that means you're more likely to have this information disseminated. What this means is that you create an alternative path of information checking. You have TikTok channels and more, Gen Z-driven and more prevalent media spaces that propagate information that we are more likely to have palatable to the general public. This is important because that call-out culture is what we need. Then that call-out culture leads to more public trust because there is a more public cognizance of people's capacity to decipher information that is right from wrong. We think ultimately then it leads to public trust, which in turn leads to more civic engagement and democracy, because people are more likely to turn out and to vote at the polls because they know the rights that are more proximate to them. You only get this through a strong call-out culture and people being cognizant of the rights that they are entitled to in status quo. And people can only do that, tie back to our initial mechanism, if there is information to check, to push back on, to critique. It's the same way you give homework to a kid and you want them to get better by not giving them the precise answer. This manipulation, we posit, is our unique way of keeping the public on their toes, and they are able to then inform public trust and a call-out culture. So with that, I've never been prouder to propose. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to analyze with me the motion that this House believes that information manipulation sparks civic engagement more than it destroys public trust and democracy. I'd like us to first start with assessing the truthfulness of this claim, and secondly, to assign value on the judgments made by Paul. Thirdly, I'd like us to interrogate the impact and therefore the reason why we should believe that civic engagement is furthered by information manipulation. Is it really worth the risk? That is the question here. We approach this discourse with the assumption that manipulation is assumed to be hostile and to be motivated by power and profit. Secondly, that media and regulations around information is not in this setting. And to set the parameters around this motion, our definition of information manipulation is a deliberate attempt to actually distort information so that you can steer the public opinion on certain topics. And civic engagement is a meaningful participation of citizens on a social or a political discourse with the aim of finding a common ground to be able to advance the status quo. With these parameters set, I believe that it is upon the proposition to actually provide proof that information manipulation is still worth the risk. Why am I saying this? It is because all other studies that have actually been done on information manipulation shows that information manipulation in the long term have actually promoted destruction to democracy. My argumentation is that the empirical evidence surrounding positive impact of information manipulation is obscured. There is no information provided, ladies and gentlemen, and even from Paul's argument, our first proposition speaker, he did not provide any kind of evidence that information manipulation would actually work to further a civic engagement. And here is our case. Civic engagement is a democratic process. So you cannot purport to actually promote democracy through civic engagement while also trying to destroy democracy in itself. We contend that the harms far outweigh any sparks. as information manipulation systematically undermines the social glue holding of democracy together. Why do we say this? First, it erodes public trust. Second, it fuels division and undermines collective action. Third, it weakens democratic foundation through manipulation circles. Fourth, it undermines informed consent of the people participating in that information that has been provided. And the short-term mobilization and long-term disengagement is actually foreseen when you actually use information manipulation to spark a conversation. Our other argument is that it goes against the principle of civic engagement. Why do we say this? The principles of civic engagement dictate that there is a kind of transparency and trust between the provider of information and those consuming the information. Second principle is that high quality engagement is actually promoted when citizens are fully informed about a given topic. When you actually choose as just a certain thing to speak to the emotions and frustrations of the people so that they can engage, I do not particularly think that that is going to be a fruitful civic engagement. Instead, it is going to be powered by emotions, and it is going to be subjective rather than objective. Our other argument is that information manipulation is against the fundamental of the verity of information. Why do we say this? When I started the conversation, I asked us to assess the truthfulness of the claims. Is it really true that it sparks civic engagement? Yes, it does. But does it promote what civic engagement purports to promote? No, it doesn't. Ladies and gentlemen, my partner will provide further arguments and make further extensions to reiterate the points that I have actually made. He will also provide and support our position on this motion. And as I end again, let truth prevail. Thank you.
Now, the next round, we are going to allow 4 minutes for the two to cross-examine each other's arguments. And I think we'll need to provide them another microphone. You can do it even while sitting. Have one microphone for you. Can we get another microphone for Paul? Okay. You can just start the timer, then they can be using my microphone, then I'll, okay, fine. So we'll start with the first speaker. Please, let's take it back. All right, yeah? You can do it standing or you can even do it sitting, but remember it is the 4 minutes. 4 minutes is shared. Yeah. Yes, ask each other questions and respond. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so my first question. So you've actually agreed that manipulation sparks civic engagement, because that's the burden. The burden was not to show that it should be good or bad civic engagement. So I think that's already case concession. But even if that wasn't the case, we've already shown you why it's likely to be good. Could you clarify how people calling out the government in a legitimate way, or big actors or bad bloggers, is a bad thing?
Your question actually restricts me to just only a really small instance. But allow me to say that, yes, we do agree that information manipulation sparks civic engagement. But that was not the contention in the debate. The contention was that we have to assess the sustainability, long-term and short-term. We do not want people just engaging something excitedly and then momentarily just stops from engaging it. It is not sustainable. We are talking about sustainability, not really whether it sparks or not. Sustainability is the question here.
Okay. You have a question for me?
Do you believe that civic engagement is a democratic process?
So civic engagement by definition is coming together collectively to talk about an issue of public interest. So yes, that is an expression of the democratic process. Yeah. Okay, so my question for you will be, so my question to you will be, how exactly, because you only mentioned it, there was no analysis to prove that it's true, how do you harmonize the democratic process on your side?
I'll come up again.
So how do you harmonize the democratic process on your side? Because you've claimed democratic harmonization as something that's likely to be achieved on your side. But I need you to prove to me why that's true, instead of just saying it.
I would have really loved to prove. However, allow me to say that I would love to dwell with information manipulation when it comes to democracy.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned that most of the Kenyan people are tech savvy and they would identify where information has been manipulated. The percentage, the real percentage of tech savvies are actually, say, 3% of the Kenya's population. So how exactly do you aim to solve the problem of information manipulation for the 97% who don't?
So 97 plus 23 is 100. That's I'm shaky math.
No,
But
3%.
okay,
3%.
okay, it's 3%. That's untrue because that's a very weird statistic, especially considering by 2017, the M-Pesa usage in Kenya was at 100 and freaking 40%. So that means people had one line and like another different M-Pesa accounts. So that means M-Pesa usage is prevalent. It can't be 3%.
Allow me to ask you, just because somebody knows how to use M-Pesa, does it mean that they're tech savvy?
So M-Pesa is not a technology.
But you're the one who used the example.
No. Kenyans are okay. 2 months ago, a statistic came out that Kenyans are the highest users of ChatGPT globally. I don't know what else shows that Kenyans are not tech savvy. Silicon Savannah, new innovations. We've raised the highest capital for startups in Africa, even bigger than Nigeria and Egypt and Cairo. You know, sign language AI and things of the sort. So that's a very difficult thing to disprove, and I don't think it was a wise question to ask, because now you have a big burden to prove why that's not true.
Okay. While I try to prove it, allow me to just ask you this personal question. Do you think that you have the right to consent to any information?
Yes.
So
Right.
why would you
The
argue
time
that you
is
can
up,
manipulate?
and because we're going to have the audience, let's appreciate them, because at this moment we also want to pass the microphone over to them. Let's appreciate them a bit. All right. So we have another 8 minutes to. You have an opportunity now to engage the first two speakers before we come back to the panel, to the debaters. Anyone with any question or any comment? Anyone with a question or a comment? All right.
Okay, thank you. My name is Eunice Magwambo. I'm a journalist and a media professional. I was just looking up the percentage of Kenyans who are tech savvy. It's 29%, nearly 30%. So I think mine is less of a question, but a comment maybe to the pro. Okay, I didn't sit on the
Our
slide.
8 minutes should be running.
Okay, so I think my question is largely what we are doing with misinformation and disinformation is doing a lot of fact checking. And in that, we are also sparking a lot of civic engagement. So as debaters in your own way, how do you see collaboration happening in those two pathways where audiences are able to be a bit literate on how to detect what is true and what is false, and also participate? Because I understand you've asked if there's democratic process in the
Okay.
in civic tech, so in civic engagement, and I think it's not wholesome. So maybe how can we fill up those gaps as we're trying to collaborate the two from audience participation and also civic?
Thank you. Let's appreciate her. Then we pass the microphone to the gentleman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Muredi Mwangi. I work for Baraza Media Lab. I have a question on that whole conversation on tech savviness. Do I really need to be tech savvy, or do I need to be able to identify somebody who is tech savvy to help break down the information for me? Like, does that take up any?
Which side are you
space?
shooting the question to?
It's to the
All right.
opponents.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I can survive on somebody else's intelligence.
All right. Kindly help me pass the mic. Okay, thank you. The lady next to you, then we pass it to the back. Okay.
Hi, my name is Samantha, and I have a question towards opposition. So, do you guys agree the fact that most Kenyans rarely engage in meaningful action civic engagement unless they are somehow emotionally provoked. And misinformation, no matter how harmful it is a catalyst that jolts these people into communicating and actually civically engaging in today's world.
Thank you. Let's pass it to the lady at the back. Okay. The debaters be ready.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucy from the Media Council of Kenya. So, the lady in beige, you mentioned that information is a resource, okay? So how do we balance its free flow with the need to prevent manipulation that can divide communities? Yeah, communities or even threaten peace in the country.
Okay, I'll pass the microphone to the first proposer to start responding to any question that you picked. So look at the time. Probably maybe you can share the time, maybe 2 minutes, 50 seconds each. Okay.
All right, so I'll take 2 questions. The first one was to account for the collaboration between, an audience that's literate and people that, want credible information. Yeah, so these points back to the crux of our case, which was basically because information is almost exclusively nowadays given through a blog or social media or things of the sort. It is only better, it's better for people to only get more like tech literate and things of the sort, because that's where information is going. I don't think you can see a way beyond that at this point, especially the exponential growth of artificial intelligence and things of the sort. So how do you account for more collaboration? I think that's it. There's also demystifying a lot of legal information. It happens. There's Wakili AI, and an app my friend from uni actually helped co-design. So it demystifies a lot of legal concepts and concepts around the law, and you need to know what you're entitled to by the law. These other question was a general question, but I think it's more suited for us because we did introduce tech savviness as a mechanism of us to get to our impact, which is basically, do I need to be tech savvy to help bring down manipulation, which was asked by the gentleman. I think, again, the answer to that is likely yes, because how people mostly consume information is through tech, even in like the softest way. I'm only going to get information through likely a blog. So if I depend on somebody else, it then goes against the whole principle which we are fighting for, which is the ability to be able to call out information by yourself. And you can only develop that skill if you learn to be the one to sift through the information and the bad information and the lies for what it is and pick out the truth. So the only way you're going to do that, we posit, is by being more tech savvy and understanding how the means that give these information functions. We think it's just a hill we're more likely to die on. I think it's almost 2.5 minutes. I'll give the mic to my opponents.
Thank you for being a gentleman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy, for correcting me and saying that it was 71%. When I talked about tech savvy, I was using the definition that tech savvies are people who are probably who have studied things about computer and all that. Not just because you know how to use it, then you become a tech savvy. But thank you very much. Lucy, you asked me about the question of information as a resource and how we can balance. You can balance this by regulation. Actually, whether the information has been manipulated or not, usually it is asymmetric. Most of the people who are in the mashinani areas do not have the kind of information that people in the urban centers have. This is because the people in the urban centers have access to social media, platforms. They have access to the TVs, they have electricity and all that. You won't really compare that kind of information. You won't compare yourself with a person who is out there. So myself, I would think that when it comes to balancing, let us talk about regulation of information. Let us make institutions that actually give out information be of integrity. Thank you.
We still have 1 minute, 30 seconds for you. Do you want to respond or to respond to any of the arguments raised by the opponents?
We can split it 40 seconds.
Okay.
Can start.
Okay.
You see, when you ask people to become tech savvy in order for them to distinguish between legit information and manipulated information, that is more of an extra assignment. People are already grumbling with the high cost of living. So why then should we place them with the burden of, trying to differentiate between informations? What is the use? What is the need? Because I'm pretty much sure that people are going to focus more on putting food on the table than certifying information, whether it's true or not.
Okay, so to respond to that, I think the first thing was, like you rightly cited out, it's a definitional debate. So we define tech savvy as, the ability to be able to understand how most of the tech things work at a fundamental level. You don't need to be in the elite level. I think that's a more acceptable definition in the debate, especially because Kenya, by its standards in Africa, is a very tech-savvy country. So I think it's a fair definition that Kenyans are able to work around the basics. But even if that was not true, there's a concept called progressive realization. In as much as we need to deal with the things that are more felt and urgent to us, there's also a need to change the paradigm. You simply can't be short-termistic. You need to account for the changing tech-literate population that we have. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Let's appreciate them for that round again. And now we are moving to the second speaker of the proposing team to keep building the case for their side, and that is none other than Linda Asena. Linda Asena, take the stage. You have 4 minutes.
All right.
Begin now.
So everyone here is talking about tech savviness, but information manipulation is as old as time. I don't know if you people know that even in 460 BC, when Socrates and Plato and the Heraclitus of that time, information manipulation existed. When Socrates was introducing the concept of democracy then in Athens, he was very specific to involve democracy to the young people. And that time, his contributions to democracy were called information manipulation, so to speak, because the government in Athens did not like that he used that format to inform young people how to participate with the government and contribute with democracy. So information manipulation is not new, and I am very, I think I'm the oldest here. I have lived in centuries, and I think I've read a little bit of history where even when the newspapers came out, information manipulation was a very big tool to lead countries into, one, win wars, and usurp autonomy of other states. So manipulation in the young people's eyes is, I know for us, we accept manipulation is a good thing. And for me, I think manipulation is a good thing because I don't think any of you here will say that they have not been manipulated over anything. Colonialism, what do you think about it? I will involve you too. Do you think colonialism was manipulation? Yeah? Do you think the way we dress is manipulated? The conversations we have, the friendships we have. I think people have seen the amount of young people who are benefiting from information manipulation on X or Twitter, or X or whatever, Twitter or TikTok. Have you seen that? How many people are raking lots of dollars from Elon Musk? Elon Musk is eating good from information manipulation because he's going to be a what? They're saying he's going to be a trillionaire in the next few months. So for me, information manipulation is a form of employment for many people. People get to put food on their table. So when you listen to some of the people putting very fake news on X or on TikTok, people are actually raking money. Information manipulation has created an environment where we have legal offices that discuss how to use policy and government to curb information manipulation and even how to use it. I think people saw the way Cholet said when they hacked the government systems last week. What did she say? They did it intentionally to what? To influence you people. Politicians use information manipulation every day to change your perception of how you think about a politician. You have seen what was happening in the by-elections just yesterday, for example. What happened in Bere? Songs have been used to manipulate you. It's just not information in its real sense. Songs, dances, culture, religion. Most of you here subscribe to a particular religion. Don't you think that's a form of manipulation? And if I argue with you on some of these bases, some of you, your trust in these things is so intense that even you cannot be convinced. So for me, information manipulation is like it's is like an interesting tool. It's a tool that you can use to even get friends. I understand information manipulation can be used to even get spouses. You've seen Tinder. You just put your photo there, you look nice, maybe you're fishing, I don't know, you're at a party, you're enjoying life. I don't know, if it feels to you like you appeal to that person, maybe that is not his or her daily life, but the perception you've seen on that social media platform can influence how you perceive that other person and influence your decision. There's a writer I've been reading about how to legally cognitize manipulation. And he says there are five, he calls them the big five. Profiling of a personality of a person. You can tell the openness.
All right.
It was that short.
Thank you.
You're manipulating me.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Linda. Let's appreciate Linda. Let's appreciate Linda as Ohisa Oduo takes stage. Ohisa Oduo, your 4 minutes. Thank you. Your 4 minutes begins now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was strategic that we asked whether the proponents admit that civic engagement is indeed a democratic process, simply because information manipulation is inherently undemocratic, because it deprives you, the citizen, with your fundamental right for self-determination. Who are you to tell me how I should think? Or who are you, therefore, to influence how I think? The proponents here assume that every Kenyan is digitally literate and is capable of conducting their own research to be able to differentiate between deception and fact. Examples have been given regarding how politicians use information manipulation to achieve their own ends, how religion is used as information manipulation, even Tinder dates. And you will find one common theme in all these examples that have been provided: deception. And fundamentally, that a democracy is not found on deception. It is found on public trust, which information manipulation gradually erodes over time. For example, they allude to the short-term benefits. However, they ignore the other important part of this motion, which refers to public trust and democracy, that they have failed to acknowledge that, and indeed this was the purpose of the question, that they have failed to acknowledge, despite answering and acknowledging so inadvertently, that information manipulation is inherently undemocratic because it relies on deception to change the perception of the public in order to achieve their own ends. They have failed, again, to show us empirical examples which support their proposition. They claim call-out culture. Perhaps you may refer to a single scientific paper which supports your statement, then we can have this conversation again. And fundamentally, right, an example was given referring to Socrates and regarding how he used information manipulation, but I believe the second speaker misconstrues actual information manipulation and the fact that he was accused to use information manipulation. He did not manipulate information, he simply needed to state the truth because of the fact that there was, simply because, for example, in our society, information manipulation, or rather manipulated content, is much more compared to the actual truth that is present in society. And that it is most unfortunate that the proponents of this motion claim to utilize fundamentally undemocratic means to enhance our democracy. For one thing that I believe we can all agree, that the purpose of this motion is not to challenge whether we are not in agreement regarding the purpose of civic engagement, which is to enhance democratic values and principles. Therefore, I find it most perplexing that anyone can support this motion and claim to utilize fundamentally undemocratic means to champion civic engagement, which, as I have established, is fundamentally a democratic process, which, by the way, they have themselves admitted to. And it is at that point I can say with full certainty that our opponents did not fully understand nor grasp their assignment, and I infer to the opposers to come to our side there.
Right, thank you. Thank you. Let's appreciate that is the second speaker of the opposing team. And at this moment, we are going to invite on stage, back on stage, the first speaker. You have 3 minutes to clear any doubts and clarify any issues that you believe the opponents are manipulating.
Right. So the first thing I want to make clear is how we define manipulation, because there are it assumes that there is a power asymmetry and that people are just going to sit there and be manipulated. The truth is, people are very informed. They know, especially here in Kenya, for example, which can be a fair place setting for the debate. People understand the things that are going on around them and they'll call out anything bad that they see, which is why TikTok is very important and it's been a great factor and it mobilized last year's protests to the greatest degree. This simply means that manipulation in and of itself sparks this civic engagement and call-out culture that we think works for us. I think the second thing is they say it's undemocratic because it's impure. Well, then that is very one-sided. It can't be that when other people do manipulation, it's bad, but when you do manipulation, it's not bad. And this was what I was trying to do with the setup initially, because you manipulate information all the time. How many Gen Zs made videos of Ruto dead, if I'm being recorded, in a coffin, but he didn't die. Everybody understood it was a joke. So that was manipulated information, but by your metric, that should be bad. But because it was for a good cause and because we believe Ruto is undemocratic, it flies. So we think that double standard is probably not something that allows for a very charitable debate on our side. Anyway, to sum up the case, it's this simple. Information manipulation is a tool that is used. Whether it's good or bad is not up for debate, and people view things subjectively. So when I manipulate information, it's bad, but when you do it, it's good. That's basically what they were saying. And our challenge is that the opposing the information, that the recipients of the information, they have the capacity most of the time to decipher when information is good or bad. And when they exercise this, because they can't exercise it on information that's not factual, so you need people to manipulate information. And the exercise of these, it wields a population that is cognizant of, the ability to be able to call out this culture. Our position is that this ability to be able to call out these ill doings is what is sustainable, not depending on people to give out factual information, because you can't also depend on people. They can flip, and if they flip and you don't have the capacity, what are you going to do? We want to have the capacity to do that regardless of whoever is in control. I'll finish with a saying, a common saying. It says, when a bird perches on a weak twig, do you think it trusts more on the twig's ability to be able to hold still? The answer to that riddle is no, because it trusts more in its wings to fly. So whether the twig is strong or weak, so whether we have information that's factual or not, we'll still be able to fly through our call-out culture, and that being nurtured does us good. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, we can keep appreciating. That is the best job we can be doing as the members of the audience. And now welcome the first speaker also to do the same role of clarifying and demystifying any information that has been manipulated.
Hannah Arendt, in her wisdom, when she was writing The Banality of Evil, described that people respond to chaos mostly because it is inherent, it is part of our primal nature. Samantha asked whether people respond to things that are emotionally charged, and it is very much true. When it touches your emotions, when it calls out to your frustration, that is when you simply get active. So what these information manipulators do is that they call out those really emotions that you have deep inside you. They manipulate you in a way that you do not see that you're even being manipulated. You'll actually realize that, oh, I had been manipulated when the big actors, when the big corporates who are sponsoring that kind of manipulation are now satisfied and they're doing their own things. So when it comes to information manipulation, it does not support any kind of long-term engagement. Why? This is because it is really hard to sustain emotions. One day you're grieving, the next day you're happy. So if this is something that actually leverages on emotions, then that means that it cannot be sustainable. And at the same time, we had asked them to provide empirical evidence on situations where information manipulation has actually led to more good. You had the second speaker, the second proponent, say that information manipulation has been used to win wars. But allow me to tell you that information manipulation, for the longest time, yes, has been used to win wars. Why? Because it has been used to incite violence and also influence the public opinions. Most of us do not know what is happening in Gaza or South Sudan simply because information that is reaching us has been manipulated. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about information manipulation infringing on democratic process, which again, they say that information manipulation is good for civic engagement. And civic engagement, like they actually agreed with us, is a democratic process. Therefore, we could say that information manipulation is detrimental to the society because it is detrimental to democracy. And therefore, information manipulation breeds authoritarian tendencies. If there's any other thing that I need to address is actually the question on the scale. When the first speaker had spoken, he talked about small scale or large scale. We do not care whether it's small scale or large scale. The thing we care about is information manipulation happening? Information manipulation, is it influencing people? And how is it influencing people? Is it positively or negatively? Is it in long term or in short term? And what are the fruits of information manipulation, which we have all established is violence? Thank you very much.
Let's appreciate the speaker. All right, in the next round, because now it's going to be a crossfire of 8 minutes, Baraza Media Lab has decided that each of you must have a microphone. For the sake of fairness, make sure you have a microphone. Okay. There's one microphone here for you. Please use this one. The 8 minutes are for you people now to deal with each other. The 8 minutes begin right now. We'll start with the proposing team. If you have any questions or anything you want to clear with the opponents, please go ahead.
If I have a question for you, no.
Okay, I'll start. Do you think one-dimensional definition of, I don't know, democracy and what manipulation is the only thing that should be accepted? Because the truth is, people have different ways of defining their truths. So your way of engaging with democracy should not be my way in terms of what I think information that's good for democracy is.
We are fundamentally avoiding that philosophical discussion because we're not here to discuss philosophy, right? So therefore, that fundamentally, right? So fundamentally, we're not here to discuss whether it is right or wrong, right? So you would hear at any of our submissions, we did not claim whether information manipulation is either right or wrong. We said specifically that it infringes upon key democratic values. And there perhaps I will pose the question to you. Perhaps you answered it wrongly. Do you believe, or rather do you know, that civic engagement is a democratic process?
It is a democratic process.
Now, if
but the underlying turbulence
Yes.
under democracy,
Right.
you know, is not black and white.
I acknowledge that.
And sometimes, to even achieve democracy,
Yes.
you have to do things under the rug.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that me, as a person, I'm standing on the side of the oppressor today, but I have to.
Yes.
Democracy is sometimes not black and white. And you've seen even in the democratic process, people die.
Mm-hmm.
People lose, I don't know, a leg or a head.
So perhaps I will not allow to be drawn into a conversation regarding what democracy is, because I believe everyone who is here understands what democracy is, right? So as you have acknowledged that it is fundamentally a democratic process. So there's one thing I believe we can all agree on, both proposers and opposers, that the objective of this motion today is civic engagement, isn't it? That what we differ in is the methodology, correct? Correct?
Yes, that's
The
correct.
methodology,
Yeah.
established.
Okay.
Very well. Accordingly, right, we have established that information manipulation, right, involves the deliberate dissemination of information. For what purpose exactly? Is it to further the democratic process? And thereby is where I identify that it fundamentally infringes on the principles of democracy because it relies on deceptive means as opposed to truth and transparency, which are crucial for a functioning democracy. Perhaps what you are defining is a dysfunctional democracy.
Okay, so I think I have two responses for you. The first one will be, I don't think it's fair to say we won't have a debate about this definition, because then the debate becomes ugly. The fundamental principle of debate is we need to agree that this means this, and then let's debate about how we can achieve it differently. So you can't then say, I'm not going to get into a philosophical debate with you because, I don't know, the definition that has been fiated by most people is what we are going to take. I don't think that's charitable in the spirit of debate.
Let's have that conversation.
Okay.
Define democracy.
Yeah, so democracy is the process of including people. We exist in a social contract. So it's everyone expressing their views to the common sovereign that governs the interest of everyone.
And do you think, like the law, democracy has its spirit and its letter?
And before you answer that, to follow up on that, so then the argument we are making then is that can be achieved in a way that's beyond the intuitive way which you guys are defending. People still have the capacity to decipher information that's not necessarily factual, and it sparks civic engagement. And remember, you guys did case concession because you agree that it sparks civic engagement, step one. Next logical step, is the civic engagement good or bad? So that was already case concession to us. Now, our pushback is to say, even in what you think is manipulation, the people have the capacity to accommodate whatever information they think is not factual.
Again, you're making an assumption.
And which assumption?
That the critical mass of our society is capable, or rather is digitally literate.
Yes.
Right? We can get into the empirical data, which will prove me that they are not. Right? So fundamentally, and perhaps now let me lead up with this question.
Yes.
Because so that we may avoid throwing the term civic engagement loosely. What is the purpose of civic engagement?
Your civic engagement is collectively identifying an issue of public interest and addressing it collectively, or at least attempting to address it collectively.
You are defining civic engagement and not defining the purpose. I would claim that the purpose of civic engagement is to further or rather enhance our democracy. Right? And so I find it most absurd that you claim that we would be able to advance our democracy using tools or means that are fundamentally undemocratic.
Civic engagement will make you aware of what the government is doing to you and to others.
Surely, yes. For me, perhaps, and for us.
Yeah.
Right? But the exception is
just awareness.
The exception is
because you might make noise on your civic engagement and the government tells you, no, what will you do?
Be that as it may, right? You and I do not represent the critical majority, which in a democracy like ours, determine, or rather make decisions for the rest of us. That the critical majority, whom you are referring to, who ideally you claim is capable of deciphering, right, information manipulation and identifying what is true, that the same critical majority have been responsible for voting along tribal lines, as the empirical data will show.
Do you remember Morara Kebosa with the Vampire Diaries?
We have 2 minutes.
What was his response to? What was he responding to? During the Vampire Diaries, what was Morara Kebosa responding to?
Well, you tell me.
Oh, everybody in the government used to say, we've made a road in Kondele, we've made a road in Banisa, we've made a road. And I think for Morara Kebosa, when it came up, there were so many young people who came up to say the government didn't do this.
Yeah. So was he manipulating information?
Can you allow Valerie to get in this conversation? Valerie? Please, Valerie.
Okay.
Thank you. What has come across is actually more like principles of civic engagement. And meaningful civic engagement has this as its principles. That is transparency and openness. And when it comes to information manipulation, it means that you're distorting intentionally that information so that you can steer a conversation. A conversation that has already been steered is not meaningful, will not bear meaningful civic engagement.
Can I respond to something? Do you think it's only one actor that has the capacity to manipulate information?
Goodness, if an actor has money and actually controls the media, then...
But there are so many actors who have money and can influence information as well.
And also, I think that was because I knew this would come, and that is why I intentionally framed the debate as this debate can't be about big actors with money. You won't have a debate, it's one-sided. It's more about manipulation and what it looks like for people that do it at us, maybe with not as much reach and resources, because that's where you can have the debate.
Sure, but it is usually the big actors who are actually more concerned about public opinions and therefore civic engagement. And can you manipulate me right now? What will you be manipulating me about?
I would try. I would try, but not in this setting. I'll try, but not in this setting.
All right. Let's appreciate the debaters. Afadhali, let's appreciate all the debaters. Let's appreciate them. And you see, they are exactly doing what our politicians do. You think they are fighting. I hope we don't believe that they are fighting on this, right? So we want to take this microphone over to you, and the question that we want to tackle at this moment is any side changing your view from the time you came? Is any side changing your view? Pick the microphone, go straight to the question. When Linda spoke, yes, can someone please help me take the microphone around? There was a lady who was, all right. Oh, thank you, she's here. So, when Linda was speaking, Linda mentioned something that was very interesting about fishing, and I remember some days back dating my own girlfriend on Facebook, and I didn't know that she's the same person that I was talking to again. So when you mentioned that, I think it just struck me hard how sometimes manipulation can happen. But
did it benefit you? Did you win?
Until the day that I planned for a date of meeting this other girl, and the same person showed up, and I said, "Wow, this is very crazy."
That's for manipulation.
And then two things which are coming, which are very interesting. One side is asking, actually, do you know that democracy, engaging in democratic processes are your civic duties? And the other side is also asking a very critical information that, in a democracy, the civic engagement itself is a democratic process. I think this is a very interesting question, but now let me take it over to the audience. All right, you have the microphone? Where did the microphone go to again? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Okay, hi, my name is Tatiana Gishero. I'm a content creator, civic educator. So I didn't come in here with my mind made up. I actually came in here to listen. So I've been swayed on both sides, and just some of my reflections. I think on the side of the opposers, I like what the proposers said about you can't quantify this in terms of people with big money and big budgets, but there are some of us who actually want to advance democracy and we don't have such. So I think your argument kind of leads us into bringing a knife to a gunfight. That's what I had to say about that. And on the side of the proposers, I think there was two things that I wanted to talk about. First, you make the assumption that people are actually able to distinguish and discern between misinformation. And I don't think that's a fair assumption to make, especially when you also argue that people are they get more excited by their emotions, that propels them, right? Okay. But then there's the other part of the argument where I feel like you dwelled a lot on sparking civic engagement, but there's the other part of the argument that talks about eroding public trust. And that's just the truth of it. I think with time, people will trust you less. Yet if you build a platform actually trying to push credible information, people are able to make more informed decisions, which is a foundation of democracy, but they are also able to trust you to give them that information in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate the lady as we take the microphone. Who would like to, okay. The question is, has any of the sides shifted your view on this debate, on the discussion that we are having? Anyone? Or any quick comment on the debate? Because if you don't take this time, I'll donate all the 6 minutes to them. All right.
Good evening. Let me also participate. Mine is to also kind of agree with what Tatiana has mentioned in this manner. The key elements of democracy, one of them is accountability and transparency. And when we look at manipulation, as much as it might be intentional for a good cause, it is using the wrong means to achieve a good outcome. And the result is that our institutions, which are the key embodiment of democracy, will be corrupt, or in other words, will have no value. And so democracy in essence should be embedded on accountability and transparency. So I can't see any form of transparency when you're talking about manipulation. So in essence, we are losing the debate when we say that, yes, we are using manipulation for a good cause. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right.
Hi, I came being on the opposition side. However, now I'm more towards proposition. I want to disagree with you. I do believe that the ends justify the means. So even if you're using manipulation to make sure that people are informed of a certain decision and to make sure that they actually participate in democracy itself, I believe that it's a justified cause. And I also just want to say, when it comes to manipulation, from the way that you framed the debate, which is small actors, you don't care about the trust of small actors. You care about the public trust, and when it comes to public trust, you're mainly looking at government officials and all that and institutions. But when small actors manipulate information, it makes you look into it more, either to find something to discuss or to find something to rebut, one of the two. So either way, even if you're not exactly as tech savvy as they're saying and you can't exactly identify, misinformation, the fact that you're going to see a headline that is going to somehow shock you is going to make you research more into it and eventually be able to demystify the misinformation that they've caused or to confirm it one way or another.
Thank you. Any other hand we are leaving? Okay, pass the microphone. Okay, sorry. Go first.
Okay, so hi. So I think there's been some statements that democracy is already manipulated, yeah? But then if it is already manipulated, then how are we going to put manipulated information on top of it to fix it? Are we not trying to fix the nation, guys? So I'm actually opposing the idea.
Have you shifted your view? When you came, were you proposing or opposing?
When I came, I was opposing, and
now?
I'm still opposing.
So you are not changing?
No.
All right, let's pass the microphone to anyone. Okay, there's a hand here.
Okay, I think misinformation or information is divided into three. There's the malinformation, disinformation, and misinformation. So malinformation is facts, but it's used in the intent to either cause harm or do good. So in this regard, I'm just slightly moving towards the proposers because sometimes there's information that is indeed true and it is used in the intent. It's a private information where we have something called surveillance capitalism, where we have people and internet that just picks information randomly. It could be private information, but it is brought out for the intent of good, to hold people into public, to hold the public into accountability. So I think that is some area that we can look at in terms of misinformation and mal and disinformation doing some accountability and good.
Bring back the microphone, but when you came, were you in team proposing or opposing? You were opposing?
Yeah.
Just a moment, you were opposing?
Yeah. She was looking at me. She has my response.
All right. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Thank you. So I'm just going to break this format a bit to allow 2 minutes to this side before we come to the final focus. Because yes? According to our format, maybe I'll just, that's what I'm saying, I want to break it just to allow you 2 minutes to respond to whatever they've asked or whatever they've raised. Then we'll come back to the final focus. Okay, so let's start with the proposing team. 2 minutes.
Even if information was never manipulated, where are we now?
2 minutes.
Let's ask each other. If information is as clean as you people want it to be, where are we now? Look at your health, look at our roads, even look at the people we're electing into public spaces. Some of us who have worked in political spaces know, even an MCA today can come and tell me, I'll give you a bursary, and that's not their responsibility. MCAs will go to to the county executive and say, we want money for development. It's not their job. But they'll go back to the populace and say, or the constituents and say, you know what? We have been given money for development. We want money for development. Even without information being manipulated, where are we? Would we choose for the information to be manipulated for us to benefit? Or what's the other way around? What are we choosing? The bad or the good?
Something
you can use the next 1 minute.
Yeah, something important I would like to add is on whether or not people can distinguish, because I think this is an important concept. Okay, we make the concession that most people are a lot of people are not up to date with technology. It's not most people. I think most people have a good understanding of it. But the idea is progressive realization, because there's no point in justifying an apathy or incapacity based on we have more proximate needs, especially when we can do better and demystify some concepts for people. So yes, it's not perfect, but we are progressively realizing a paradigm where more people are getting into this space. And it's worked because Kenya is a democratic hub in this region of Africa, and it's no coincidence that it coincides with the fact that we are the most tech literate population. We are not fully there, but we are better than Uganda and Tanzania and Rwanda. So I think that margin and that correlation probably accounts for that question more. I think the last thing in the last 10 seconds is just defining manipulation. It can't be that manipulation is purely bad here, and good here. Otherwise, we are not having a debate. Just that. Thanks.
Right. And you can start preparing your final focus. I'll come back to you. 2 minutes for you to respond to the audience.
It is good that he has said that we're not focusing on whether it is bad or good here. But, you've talked about malinformation, dis and misinformation. But then allow me to ask you this. Where does it stop? And what are the metrics that you use to actually predict the consequences of information manipulation? We cannot say that it is good because it produces a good result, or maybe a result that is not as violent. And then it is bad when it doesn't, or when it does. Now, here's the thing. We cannot afford to manipulate information, because the moment you do, you will never have the authority to tell the other people that are manipulating information to actually stop. Information manipulation is detrimental. It is bad for the society.
And so fundamentally here, our goal is that you may understand the net effect. So for example, I hear talk about the short-term benefits. Yes, it may create a buzz with perhaps even a single viral post, right? It may create short-term civic engagement, but we must be able to define between meaningful civic engagement, right, and civic engagement that is fundamentally detrimental to how we operate as a society, right? So what I am finding increasingly difficult to accept is that in the long term, and this is supported by empirical evidence, that in the long term, it has a positive net effect. The empirical evidence supports that the long-term net effect is that it creates apathy, it erodes public trust, and not just in institutions, even in influencers. So therefore, if information manipulation goes unchecked, and this is, I believe, part of what you are proposing, then therefore, how will we be able to actually tell the people that now this is true? Why should they believe us when they are surrounded by malinformation? And I have just confirmed that that definition is no different from misinformation, which is deliberate deception.
Thank you for that. Let's appreciate the speakers. Let's appreciate all the speakers, please. So at this moment, we want to allow the second speakers of each team 2 minutes each to give us their final focus. Remember, this is the moment to show us why your side is winning, and the audience is watching, listening keenly, because again, they are going to vote after this. The second speakers of each team, your final focus on stage. Second speakers. You are the second speaker of your team? Oh, okay, fine. The stage is yours. Your moment to shine.
Information manipulation is here to stay, whether you like it or not. You'll be manipulated, whether you're asleep. You'll hear a sound outside there, maybe it's a bomb or not, you'll choose to sleep. Information manipulation has made me realize, I don't know, this thing about the Friday. Because all Gen Zs I've been seeing on social media and TikTok, we go and vote. How many Gen Zs did you see on the line? Who manipulated them not to go? Even in the last election, I was an observer voluntarily for my organization, and I went to about 5 conversations. Gen Zs were not there. I only met, I don't know, 4 in the whole Embakasi East. Who is manipulating you not to vote? I would use information manipulation to influence all people to go out and vote. Be responsible. Choose a leader you want. And even information manipulation should come from you people. Don't leave it. You influence your partners, your friends, your cousins to go and vote for that person you want. We cannot continue trusting the government. If they wakitoa manipulation pia nyinyi mnafanya nini? Wakiandika manipulation pia nyinyi mnafanya nini? We got it for so that we win, because how are we going to exist like this? Honestly, I'm always tired of these conversations where we say something and then the next day people are not doing it. When we were calling out from Mandamano, most of us were in the city. Some of you were at home tweeting and saying, who influenced you to stay at home? When information was out there that all of us are supposed to go outside. You do the right thing, manipulate information to work for, and end of story.
We have 20 seconds.
Oh, I still have 20 seconds. No, we can agree to manipulate information, right? Yes. We can all move this side, guys.
All right. Your 2 minutes? No, don't take 8 seconds. Please start his 2 minutes.
I did not know that the proposers of this motion would actually come and rely on information manipulation to try and drive their point home. But fundamentally, you cannot change the fact that information manipulation refers to deliberate deception, right? And that you have been unable to identify that information manipulation is democratic, whereas I have identified that it is inherently democratic, because you cannot associate something which is fundamentally deliberately deceptive, right, with a democratic process which requires trust and transparency in order to be successful. The proponents here today want to convince us that the short-term gains of information manipulation outweigh the long-term damages, which erode public trust and therefore endanger our democracy. That they allude that in order to defend this democracy, in order to enhance this democracy, we must first damage it a bit more in order that it may first get better. And I would like to conclude very simply that this is a dangerous ideology, and perhaps conclude that they are actually part of the problem, which it is incumbent upon us and every active citizen to actively champion against. You need not to rely on information manipulation simply because the narratives that are present in society are so manipulative. We simply need to rely on the truth. Perhaps what they have failed to identify is that the adversary who uses information manipulation, perhaps that we should utilize the very tools for information manipulation to propagate positive truths, actual, factual truths. And perhaps that is ultimately what they have failed to identify. I, for one, am not convinced, and I hope that you are. Thank you very much.
All right. So let's appreciate all the speakers. And we still want you to remain on that stage, but at this moment, before I welcome the next speaker, please cross over the floor and shake each other's hands. Tafadhali, tafadhali, tafadhali. Handshake. Not a handshake. And I want to believe it was just a debate. Tusisikie tena baadaye watu walifuatana huko nje. Oh, you are marrying each other after here, all right? Okay. Ina switch aje hivi ama hivi. Sasa sawa. Okay, as the audience take time just to reflect on the whole conversation that has been presented here, allow me to welcome Lucy. She's from the Media Council of Kenya, and she's the officer in charge of research. Also, just to weigh into this conversation, then we come back, do a conclusion, go for the snacks, and call it an evening. Thank you. Welcome, Lucy.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucy Mwangi. I'm honored to represent the Media Council of Kenya in this important conversation on propaganda, information integrity, and democracy. So I think we need to first of all understand why this conversation matters, and we must reflect on the Kenyan context. So our information ecosystem has evolved dramatically over the past decade, with social media playing a central role in shaping public opinion, because I know each and everyone here has a social media platform, right? And something that we've all noted is that we get information on social media first before it's shared on mainstream media, right? So, yes, so on propaganda. So, propaganda just doesn't exist in a vacuum, it's there. It leverages societal tensions, political narratives, and the immediacy of digital platforms to influence beliefs and behaviors. So, in Kenya, this has implications for elections, national cohesion, and public trust in institutions. And that is why organizations like the Media Council of Kenya, we have a platform that we call the I Verify platform. So the I Verify platform was actually launched in 2022 after we partnered with the UNDP. We use that platform to debunk misinformation and propaganda. So I'm actually proud to say that during the electioneering period in 2022, we were able to debunk more than 400 claims, okay, misinformation. In today's digital age, information spreads faster than ever. And traditional media, that's the like of TVs, radios, newspapers, they coexist with national platforms, the likes of Kina X, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and TikTok. So while this rapid dissemination has many benefits, it also creates fertile ground for misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda to flourish. So propaganda by design, it manipulates information to influence public opinion. And this often creates division, fueling fear or even undermining the democratic process. As I have mentioned, that we recognize the fact that there is misinformation out there, and that is why we have a fact-checking desk, the I Verify team, which plays a key role in the fight of, as in combating misinformation, dis, and propaganda. So, yes, using media monitoring tools. I don't know if any of you knows about TweetDeck. TweetDeck. So we use TweetDeck to monitor things online, to monitor claims. So TweetDeck is a tool that comes from X. So with TweetDeck, you can be able to track each and everything that is trending online. So an example is during the Mbere elections, the Mbere by-elections that we had yesterday. So with TweetDeck, we can be able to track or get anything that is tweeted under the name Mbere. Okay? So yeah, as I've mentioned, I'm proud to state we had 400 plus claims debunked. And the spread of misinformation and propaganda can have serious consequences for democracy. It can polarize communities, erode trust in public institutions, and even incite conflict, which we saw yesterday. Even Rigiji tweeting that youths in Embu should go into the polling stations in Mbere. Did anyone come across such tweets and Facebook posts? Rigiji yesterday made some posts urging youths from Mbere to go and invade polling stations Zambere. He did that. He actually called onto the youths akawambia 18 to 35 tokeni kwa nyumba, go and fight. He said, can I look for the tweet on my time? Not invade, go and let me look for, not kuchunga kura. What? Kuchunga kura is to
protect the votes.
Yeah, but he told them to come out of their homes, waende, because apparently CS Ruku, time is up. But you can check on his socials. So in conclusion, the spread of information has never been easier. So it has risks, okay? So it is through vigilant monitoring and fact-checking and proactive public engagement that we can be able to protect the integrity of our information ecosystem. Thank you.
Let's appreciate in a better way. Let's appreciate. And also let's appreciate all the debaters on stage and appreciate yourselves in a better way. Good friends, this evening we haven't just debated, right? We've confronted the reality. If you're following this debate from the beginning to where we are, we're actually confronting the reality of our time. Information can wake us up or it can break us down. And that is something that we all know. The proposing team actually was arguing that manipulation can spark action and civic engagement, as the motion was stating. But then also on the opposing side, they were very clear that, by even warning us that distortion cracks the foundation of democracy that we're also trying to protect. But one key truth that all of us that the two teams are reminding us that information, honest or manipulated, shapes who we become as a society. And clap for them for that. Kindly, let's appreciate them for that. And the real deciding power isn't just technology or media, it is we, the people who are sitting here with the people who are debating. What we question, what we share, and what we choose to believe, we are the people who are responsible for that. So as we conclude, remember, democracy survives only when citizens stay awake, and that is actually participating. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers in a very special way and to thank you people for taking your time. It's a Friday evening. I know right now is a time for sherehe. People want to go to other interesting places more interesting than where we are. But above all, allow me also to thank Wanjiru. She should just wave wherever she is. I know it has been a very hard time planning this. I know Wanjiru is she's a face representing the Baraza Media Lab. And there's a whole team that is working here with us. And I know, Wanjiru, that this is just the beginning. Thank you so much for hosting us. As we head to the election of 2027, ladies and gentlemen, we must confront these hard conversations. Let's talk about the manifestos. Let's talk about our future as the citizens of this country. And with that, this debate is officially concluded. Appreciate yourselves. Asanteni sana.